it's a unique business model, and they have done a great job of perfecting it and building the ecosystem of 20,000 plus photographers that they talked about. So I would like to understand your insights about this business model as it is today, but more importantly, how you got to this. I mean,
Sure.
my guess is you probably started with a B2C and then switched over, or this was always the model in your mind and you executed towards it.
No, I think initially when we just decided to do this, we obviously thought, let's just build an online portal and people will upload pictures and we'll deliver the prints, and that's how it is done in the US and that's how we'll do it here. That was the initial thought. And another lesson I think that to be learned here is that it's not necessary that what works in the US will work exactly the same way here. It typically doesn't, because they're very different markets. Right? The level of maturity, the habits of people, it's so different. I'll tell you some funny things we thought of. We thought we will put our software in Kirana stores so that when people go to buy groceries, they will plug their phone to the PC there and upload pictures and we'll get print orders. I mean, that was one of the thoughts that we had. Right? But fortunately, very soon, when we started talking to photographers, we started going out and looking at what people do. At the end of the day, both Dheeraj and I have primarily worked in the US. We had no idea how things work in India. But we took time. We took time to go and talk. We went to Baroda, we went to Bombay, we went to Delhi, Bangalore. We went and just sat with photographers. Right? So the lesson there is, we try to learn from our market what actually happens. Where is the money to be made? And we quickly realized that in India, it is not going to be that similar online way of delivering stuff that used to be in the US. People don't do things by themselves in India. Even to buy a bread, you will call the guy and the boy will deliver the bread to you. Right? So in India, what we realized is there is this culture of the middleman, which we all use. You and I, every day we use the middleman for everything. You have the agent for the RTO, you have Kirana store delivery boy, there is a middleman. And we are all used to it, and there's nothing wrong with it. It helps the guy to earn his living and all that. But that's how it is. So in our case, we realized that the middleman is the photographer. Right? A sophisticated way of calling the middleman is the channel. Right? If you look at FMCG, the middleman is a distributor, reseller, right? Or the consolidator in between, the stockist or whatever. Yeah. In our case, it's a photographer. At the end of the day, these products that you just saw, they are reaching the end consumer. But how they are reaching is the question, right? Now, let's say you take the scenario of a wedding. Okay, nobody shoots pictures of their own wedding, or nobody in the family. Nobody has time. Nobody has the skills most of the time to shoot the pictures, right? So you call a pro photographer, right? Which happens all over the world. So he's a middleman there. He's supposed to deliver, and I'm saying he in Indian context because 99% of photographers in India are males. That we know. We have worked with pretty much everybody. Very few women photographers, though it's changing, fortunately. So the photographer will shoot the pictures, and then the family who's engaged them will expect a product back. Okay? So the product is eventually reaching the consumer, and hence the end point is the consumer. But it is being delivered through the middleman called photographer. In our case, that's a very important channel. The photographer himself, it's a living for him. So he's a small business, right? If he doesn't deliver that, then his business will go away. So that's why what Amit just said, it's a B2B2C. B to SMB is another way of putting it, business to small business to consumer, right? So our first focus was, whenever you're doing this kind of a model, you have to make sure your channel is somebody you can trust and you have a solid channel. If you are selling through a channel and you can't trust the channel, then you are at a big risk, because that channel can basically put you out of business, right? You're dependent on that channel. So the first thing we did was first 2, 3, 4 years, we made sure that we gain the trust of the channel, we build a solid channel, we deliver what we promise, right? And today we are at that stage. Okay. However, longer term now, where we are transforming to, right? So if you are totally dependent on a channel, that's also not a good strategy for a business to grow, because then the channel dictates how fast you can grow, what you can grow, what you can do. They start dictating that, right? So that is another risk. So the second stage of our growth, which we have started doing now for the last 1.5 years, and these ads that you saw are a indication of that, is that you need to start making a brand out to the consumer. If the consumer knows that, okay, camera is the best product that I can buy for my wedding, then they would basically ask the photographer for camera product, and the photographer will be forced to deliver the camera product.
Peeyush, I'm reminded of those US drug company ads, ask your doctor about XYZ.
Exactly, and that's true for everybody who works with a channel, right? Whoever, like you buy the toothpaste, right? The company that makes the toothpaste doesn't sell the toothpaste. They sell it through a channel. But they will advertise the toothpaste on TV so that you're aware of the brand. It's exactly the same thing, right? And so our goal in the next 5 years would be to create a brand within India where we start getting associated with photography. One more exercise that we did, which was a very interesting idea that I think one of our customers only gave us, and you can probably notice this when you go around in the city also. I'm sure it is there in Pune also. Earlier, in all the photo studios, we used to have a Kodak board, right? Kodak has no relevance to consumers today. So some of our customers actually started saying that, we want to put a camera board on our studio. So that's another exercise that we have done. Today there are about 5,000 studios in India, and that number is growing, who have replaced the Kodak board and put a camera board. So the consumer who used to go to that studio to get their photography services done, now they see camera over there. So slowly, it takes time. India is a big country, and it takes time to percolate a brand. Slowly these efforts will start, and we are obviously playing TV ads every year. It requires a lot of money, so we cannot do it like Flipkart and Myntra every month. We can't do that yet, but we are doing that, and using social media. But the next stage is really to build a consumer awareness so that we create what we call as a market pull. And when you're using a channel, creating the market pull is as important as building a solid channel. That's when the balance comes, and you can really grow from there.
So I want to come to that in the end in terms of where you take this from here. But now I think the picture is a lot clearer. But when you started, say about 5 years back or 6 years back, what were some of the things that you considered as inputs or to make decisions about what your marketing strategy should be, or how you're going to reach out to the customer? What are some of the things you tried that worked, that didn't work? You just talked about where you're at right now,
sure.
But how do you get into this?
So it was clear to us that we have to sell to the photographers and make sure that they trust us, right? So that was just the focus that we had for the first 4 years, and we drove everything based on that. How can we make the photographer trust us and deliver to what we are promising? Everything else that we did was behind that. Now, with that, we also had some things that were good business practices, like which were not done before in our industry. So we used to put our brand on our books, right, which the photographers didn't like in the beginning. We used to ask for upfront payment, which was shocking to them because they were used to dealing in credit, right? But these are, for a business, these are must-have practices, right? Losing your brand or going into credit is the biggest mistake you can do when you're doing such a business, right? So the first 4 years, we just focused on making the photographer successful, making them believe that by using our products and services, they will become better, they will do better business, and they will earn more money.
Correctly, exactly. You have been able to get them to earn a lot more money than they were earning through traditional channels.
Absolutely.
You made them really, really profitable and successful.
Yes. It's anecdotal, but after I think 2.5 years, we called a few photographers to our office from few places in India, and this one photographer, he was telling his story, and he started crying. And he said, he said that because of you guys, he was a 10th pass guy, right? He took photography because his uncle Chacha was a photographer, so he tagged along with him and he started doing photography.